A woman decides to abandon her husband and son simply because he worked as a garbage collector and always came home with the smell of work impregnated in his clothes. However, she could never have foreseen the twist that life had in store for him years later, which would leave her crying at his feet. At daybreak, while the city was still resting under the tranquility of dawn, Ronaldo walked through the door of his house, ending yet another long and exhausting night of work. It was 6:30 in the morning, and while most people were still enjoying the comfort of their dreams, he was returning to the harsh reality of his domestic life, bearing the physical and emotional scars of his profession. Despite the fatigue that dominated every part of his body, Ronaldo felt a silent relief at being back home, where he could enjoy a brief rest before finally going to bed. After taking off his boots, Ronaldo went to the room of Moises, his 5-year-old son. Upon finding the sleeping boy, a portrait of serenity and purity, Ronaldo's heart filled with tenderness. Moises' presence was like a balm for the difficulties of the outside world, and Ronaldo felt the silent promise that, as long as he was around, his son would lack nothing. Then Ronaldo went to his room, beginning the ritual of taking off his work uniform. At that moment, his wife, Jessica, woke up, and her coldness became apparent as soon as she became aware of her husband's presence. "Ah, you're here? Go take a shower, Ronaldo. You stink," she said, her voice full of disdain and contempt, as if the words were wrapped in ice. Ronaldo's response was filled with deep sadness, mixed with the resignation of someone who had already fought and lost this battle countless times. "You know it's not because I want to, right, Jessica? I've been doing my job, an essential job for the cleaning and maintenance of the city," he said, trying to justify what was already obvious. His job, although little valued by many, was what supported his family, but it seemed that not even his own wife could see the value in what he did. She turned over in bed, letting out an exasperated sigh, her face contorted into an expression that was a mix of disgust and discontent. "I can't stand this smell anymore, Ronaldo," she began, her voice thick with frustration. "Every single day it's the same. It's not going to work anymore. You need to find another job." Jessica's cutting words were like sharp blades, cutting through the air between them and intensifying the already palpable tension in the room. Ronaldo, exhausted both physically and emotionally after another tiring night cleaning the city streets after Carnival, was at the end of his rope. As he finished taking off his dirty clothes, all he wanted was a few minutes of rest before facing another long day. Without the energy to argue or try to find comfort in words, Ronaldo simply collapsed on the bed, eager for a brief moment of relief and oblivion. However, this action, as simple as it was the last straw for Jessica. She saw it as a direct affront to her demands for cleanliness and organization. "This is unacceptable, Ronaldo. You don't even care about how I feel," she snapped, her voice shaking with indignation. "How can you sleep like this, without even taking a shower? You really don't care?" The tension in the room was almost palpable as Jessica raised her voice even higher, each word more cutting than the last. "For the love of God, Ronaldo, I can't stand this smell anymore. You look like a rotten fish." Her words were like knives piercing the already fragile morning peace. Ronaldo, fighting exhaustion and hopelessness, begged her to lower her voice, reminding her that Moises was still sleeping in the next room. "Honey, please, I'm so tired. Just let me sleep for 15 minutes, and then I'll take a shower," he pleaded, trying to find a respite where there seemed to be no more patience. But Jessica's patience had completely run out. Ignoring her husband's plea, she stood up abruptly, gathering up her pillow and blanket with jerky movements. Her frustration was almost tangible, like a heavy aura around her. "I'm an idiot," she said, the bitter words coming out loud. "I married a man who promised to give me everything, but all he gives me is the smell of garbage in my bed every morning." With those words echoing through the room, Jessica left, slamming the door behind her and taking refuge on the living room couch, leaving Ronaldo alone in the epicenter of an emotional storm. The weight of hurt and guilt fell on Ronaldo's shoulders. "She's right," he thought, as his mind was invaded by memories and promises from the past. A painful contrast between what he dreamed of and what his life had become. Ronaldo had always dreamed of opening his own franchise of Colombian restaurants, a tribute to his immigrant family's roots. He had been a talented chef with a passion for cooking. This was the path he believed he was destined to follow. But fate, with its cruel unpredictability, had other plans. A traumatic accident at the restaurant where he worked, where he fell from a two-story balcony, changed the course of his life forever. When he hit his head, Ronaldo lost the ability to smell and taste, essential pillars of his profession, and in that moment, everything fell apart. When the shadows of fate began to surround him, his career as a chef fell apart, forcing him to accept the only job available: night shift garbage collector. This new phase of his life, marked by the stigma and effort of a profession that was undervalued, was a far cry from the promises he had made to his wife. Each night shift, heavy and tiring, served as a painful reminder of the distance that now separated his dreams from his current reality. While he worked tirelessly to support his family, the loss of his former career was still an open wound, and he fell asleep with this weight on his shoulders, his body exhausted, consumed by grief. When Ronaldo woke up, close to lunchtime, he was greeted by an oppressive silence, broken only by the distant sounds of life that continued outside his home. Moises, his son, had already left for school in the van that picked him up every day and would only return later. In this scenario of apparent tranquility, Jessica decided to act. She burst into the room like a hurricane, full of pent-up emotions. With quick steps, she opened the wardrobe and began to throw Ronaldo's clothes on the bed, each piece of clothing a symbol of her anger and frustration. Then she opened the closet, grabbed a suitcase, and threw it on the bed, her movements hard and determined. The sudden invasion made Ronaldo jump out of bed, confused, still trying to process what was happening around him, groggy from having just woken up. "What is this, love? What are you doing?" he asked, his voice still choked with sleep. But Jessica's eyes shone with uncontrollable fury. "I'm leaving. I can't take it anymore. You stink of garbage, Ronaldo." The intensity of her words cut through the air like razors, and Ronaldo let out a nervous, incredulous laugh, trying to convince himself that this was a bad joke. "Love, please, are you serious? Have you gone crazy?" But the seriousness on her face made him freeze. "I can certainly find someone who will offer me the world, and not a world of garbage like you have been giving me for the last 5 years. Jessica snapped, her words filled with contempt and bitterness. The suitcase next to her, already almost full, confirmed that this was a final decision, made with much hatred and resentment. She closed the zipper of the suitcase with a sudden movement, and the sound of the zipper echoed like an omen of something irreversible, leaving Ronaldo terrified. Stunned, he tried to appeal to reason, to the love that had once existed between them, and to Moises's good. "And Moises? We have a small son, Jessica." "You can't be serious," he exclaimed, desperate. But she was merciless in her response, something Ronaldo would never have imagined hearing from a mother, especially his wife. "He was an accident you gave me. So deal with it," were the cruel words that fell from her lips, before she left the house, slamming the door behind her with force. Ronaldo stood there, petrified, unable to believe what had just happened. He was alone, surrounded by the clothes thrown on the bed, symbols of the end of everything he had known and built. The reality of his situation fell upon him like a devastating blow, leaving him lost and desolate, facing an uncertain and painful future. Ronaldo spent the entire day waiting, each second dragging painfully slowly as he held out hope that she would return and change her mind. However, as the afternoon wore on and his son returned from school, the harsh reality of his situation became impossible to ignore. Moises' innocent question, "Where's mommy, daddy?" was like a knife stuck in Ronaldo's chest. Desperate, he made up an excuse, saying that she had gone to a friend's house but would be back soon. However, this lie only worsened the dilemma that consumed him: how to take care of his young son during the nights he worked. After several failed attempts to contact his wife, Ronaldo discovered that she had cut off all ties, throwing away the SIM card in her cell phone to prevent any communication. Out of options, he turned to his neighbor, Julia, who agreed to take care of Moises while he worked. Her kindness seemed almost unbelievable, a gesture of kindness amidst the darkness that surrounded him. That night, as he left for another shift, Ronaldo felt more lonely and lost than he had ever imagined possible. Loneliness and uncertainty weighed more heavily on him than the trash he picked up on the city streets. In the 3 months following Jessica's departure, Ronaldo tried tirelessly to contact her, clinging to the hope of reconciliation or at least an explanation. However, the only response he received was a cold and impersonal document, a document from the registry office that arrived without warning and with no return address, sealing the fate of his marriage. The pain of not knowing how to explain to his son that his mother would never return was a daily burden that Ronaldo struggled to bear. The first year without Jessica turned into a true nightmare, marked by the exhausting struggle to balance his night job with caring for Moises. Without the resources to hire a full-time nanny, Ronaldo depended solely on the help of Julia, who had become a constant and comforting presence in their lives. In addition to caring for Moises, Julia became a friend to Ronaldo, listening attentively to his struggles and offering comfort. She often wondered how a mother could abandon her own son without remorse, unable to understand Jessica's coldness. Over time, Julia developed a deep desire to change Ronaldo and Moises' lives for the better. One day, she brought news that seemed like a ray of hope. She had inherited an apartment and was considering selling it to invest in a business. "I want to open a restaurant, and I want you to be my partner," she said, looking Ronaldo in the eye. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. "But I can't be a chef anymore," he replied, still haunted by the limitations his accident had imposed on him. Julia, however, saw the potential in Ronaldo that he himself could not see. She knew that, even with his limitations, he prepared Moises' meals every day with love and dedication, leaving everything ready for her to simply heat up and serve the boy. "Even without tasting it, your food is amazing," Julia said, determined to convince him that he still had a lot to offer the world. "I really believe this could be a big difference," Julia insisted, her confidence in Ronaldo's culinary skills unwavering. Although initially reluctant, Ronaldo eventually gave in and began conducting culinary tests, offering his dishes to friends and acquaintances to try. To his surprise and Julia's, the responses were unanimous. The food was exceptional. Encouraged by the positive feedback, Julia decided to sell the apartment she had inherited and use the money to open the restaurant of her dreams, which gradually began to become a concrete reality for both of them. The restaurant's success exceeded all expectations from the first year. Ronaldo divided his time between the responsibilities of head chef during the day and long nights as a garbage collector. This exhausting routine, however, soon proved unsustainable as the business flourished, thanks to his dedication and culinary talent. Soon, Ronaldo was able to give up his night job to dedicate himself full-time to the restaurant that he and Julia had built together. The partnership between the two evolved into a deep friendship, and the business quickly grew. In less than 2 years, they expanded to 3 establishments, all maintaining the essence and quality of Ronaldo's original recipes. The success brought with it a significant change in the man's life, allowing him to move into a spacious and comfortable house, where he could finally offer Moises all the best, fulfilling the promises he had once made to himself. However, the tranquility of his new life was abruptly interrupted when, 3 years after his ex-wife's disappearance, Jessica reappeared at the restaurant. When Ronaldo saw her enter his establishment, his heart stopped for a moment. Jessica, a shadow of her former self, seemed worn out by the hardships of life. Tears began to run down her face, bringing with them a wave of emotions and memories that Ronaldo had tried in vain to leave behind. As soon as their eyes met, Jessica swallowed hard, struggling to find the words. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled under the weight of her emotions. "Ronaldo, I messed up. I miss you guys so much. I miss our home. I just want another chance, please." Ronaldo, taken by surprise, kept his composure, but he couldn't help the incredulous laugh that escaped his lips. "Are you serious, Jessica? After all this time, you just show up out of nowhere?" He shook his head, disbelieving his ex-wife's audacity. "Are you crazy? How can you think you can go back and expect everything to be okay? Desperately, Jessica took a step forward, her hands shaking in supplication. I know I made mistakes, love, but I've changed, I swear I have. Can't you give me a chance to prove it to you and Moises? Hearing his son's name, Ronaldo felt his heart sink, but his resolve remained firm. Do you think you deserve another chance after everything? After abandoning your own son, Jessica? You even said he was an accident. How do you expect me to forget that? Ronaldo's words brought back the harsh truth of the past, and Jessica stumbled through her responses, trying to justify her actions. I was confused, Ronaldo. I was lost. But now I see how much you mean to me. But what you don't realize, Ronaldo replied firmly, is that your leaving was the best thing that could have happened to me. None of this, he gestured to the thriving restaurant around them, would have been possible if you were still in my life. Julia believed in me when you didn't, and she's been more of a mother to Moses than you ever were. The pain in his voice was palpable, each word laced with bitterness and truth as he confronted Jessica. How can a mother abandon her own child? He asked, his voice now raised and filled with emotion. Tears began to stream freely down Jessica's face. I just wanted a chance to make things right, Ronaldo. But he remained unfazed. You have no idea how much Moses suffered in the beginning. You didn't even bother to show up for the joint custody hearings. The judge gave me full custody, thank God. Ronaldo was furious, and everyone in the restaurant watched the scene closely, feeling the tension in the air as he poured out years of pent-up pain and resentment. There are times when evil ends up bringing good, and Ronaldo firmly asked Jessica to leave. Neither I nor Moises need you, he said with a conviction that ended any chance of reconciliation. With that final statement, he turned his back, walking back to the restaurant kitchen. His upright posture, full of pride and dignity, remained untouched, leaving Jessica alone to deal with her regrets and the harsh reality that she would now have to face on her own. After Jessica's final departure, Ronaldo and his son continued their lives, never seeing her again. Jessica, in turn, spent the rest of her days trying, unsuccessfully, to find a new love and a purpose that would fill the void left by the choices she had made. However, success always eluded her, leaving her with only her excuses and the painful knowledge that she had lost the family that Ronaldo and Moises had rebuilt without her. At the center of this new family was Julia, whose love and dedication to the boy were unquestionable. She had become a true mother figure to Moises, loved and respected not only by him, but also by Ronaldo, who saw in her the life partner he had always wanted. Over time, what began as a friendship and a business partnership blossomed into a deep and true love. The couple confirmed this special bond by getting married, sealing the union of a family that was forged through challenges and strengthened by love and resilience. Moises grew up with no memories of the woman who abandoned him, as Julia had completely fulfilled the role of mother in his life. For him, Julia was his true mother, the person who had been by his side offering love, support, and a solid foundation throughout his childhood and beyond. He didn't even remember Jessica. Ronaldo, in turn, was immensely grateful for everything Julia had done for him since the day his life was turned upside down by the departure of his ex-wife. The gratitude he felt for Julia knew no bounds. She believed in him when no one else did, giving him the opportunity to leave behind his exhausting days as a garbage collector and embrace a promising future. Together, the family was ready to live everything Ronaldo had ever dreamed of, embarking on a future full of possibilities, love, and happiness. If you liked this story, the next video that is appearing on your screen will certainly move you too. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like it, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. A big kiss, and see you in the next exciting story.